everybody.
Hi, Gretchen.
How is everyone?
We're great.
One of you is very loud, too. All right, so we're going to get started. I'd like to welcome you here. I'm sure that there are other people who will be wandering in and probably contacting me tomorrow asking me for information. So we'll just get started with who we have and catch everybody else up later. Let's open with prayer. Dear God, thank you for giving us opportunities to learn and to experience, and help us to use this opportunity that we're about to discuss to enlarge our view of the world, and especially our view of all those who you created in your image. Help us to be your hands and your heart in the world. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay, so just want to start a little bit for those of you who's never been on a mission trip yet. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of, for your benefit, give you a little bit of an idea of why we do mission trips at St. Matthew's. Is it about where we go?
It's about the mission.
Who said that? It's about the mission. Did you say that, Grant? Nice job. Okay. So yeah, it's about, part of it's about where we go, but a lot of it's about the mission. And it's a bigger part of it even is taking it out of ourselves and out of our daily experience. Because how many of you guys are busy all the time? And you've got games, you've got homework, you've got jobs, you've got all kinds of stuff, and it's really hard to see past that sometimes. The really great value of a mission trip is that they give us that week to see past that. So it's a really high point for Pastor Chris and me to do that every year and experience it through your eyes and your experiences. And it's always a great event, and hopefully a perspective expanding and a worldview expanding event for you guys. So with that, some of you already got the blue sheets. If you didn't, we can pass these out.
We need them.
Anyone can, yeah. So we,
There. Pass them around to your friends.
So this year we are going to go to. It's on the screen. Did you already put it up? This is to me all the time. Okay. So as you can see, we're going to the Washington, D.C. area. We did this 5 years ago. We went to Washington, D.C., and it's a different kind of trip than we've done the last couple of years. It doesn't involve building. It doesn't involve disaster response. It involves responding to needs that exist every single day in every part of the United States. Complications of poverty, food insecurity, homelessness, all those kinds of things that make anything like a natural disaster or anything that happens harder. Being poor makes everything harder. So that's what this mission trip is focused on, working with service agencies that respond to people who are living in poverty. And it also has a special component, being in Washington, D.C., that we get to talk, hopefully, with our policymakers. Because we can do all we want to do, right? We can help, and it's really important. But at some point, laws affect what happens to people who are struggling. So we hope that we will get a chance to meet Senator Baldwin and Senator Johnson. We did the last time we went, and we worked on statements that we read as a group. Some of you have siblings who were part of the statements. Adam was one, and Maeve was part of it. So it's a unique trip. It's not like any other trip we do. We're saying this year that it's Washington, D.C. area because we haven't been able to put together all the details yet. Actually staying in Washington, D.C. last time was a little bit of a challenge. It was great in terms of location, but it was a challenge to arrange it. So we may be looking at staying and working in an area like Baltimore, but we would still have access to the D.C. area for activities and hopefully intersecting with some policy initiatives. Did you guys know we're part of a bigger church. Do you know what it's called? The ELCA. Good job. The ELCA, okay. And so the ELCA has a public policy office both in Wisconsin and in Washington. And they choose issues that have meaning to us scripturally, morally, and issues are developed, or positions are developed because of input of the whole church at large, based on synod assemblies and the National Assembly and policy statements. So they take those and they formulate positions on issues. So we hope to have a briefing with them so they can talk to us about some of the kinds of things they're working on in Congress, and then that will help us with statements. And all of that will have more meaning to you when you've been working in some of these agencies. So that's the hope of this trip. I went well last time. I wish we had a confidence monitor so I knew what was behind me.
What a good idea, Gretchen.
So you can see we don't have a lot of pictures from where people worked because a lot of them didn't want us to take pictures inside because of the privacy of the people who were like eating meals and whatnot. But we saw Lincoln, and he was really friendly. And we went to there's obviously a lot of stuff to see in Washington too. We did this thing, this is called Street Church. There was a church in downtown Washington, an Episcopalian church that had a very active homeless ministry.
That's why it's working.
What?
Your elbow on it, that's why.
So it had a very active homeless ministry, and they had street church once a week where they would serve lunch. We worked in a couple of soup kitchens, a couple of agencies that dealt with donations to help people, like almost like a Goodwill, more of a thrift shop kind of thing. DC Central Kitchen we worked with, which is a huge organization that's somewhat like John. And they've gotten into a catering service and that sort of thing, and they actually have a chef training institute. And then with, I can't remember the name of it, but it's an organization that Mr. Gifford had introduced us to that brings meals to the homes of people who are medically challenged. So there will be agencies like that. I can't tell you specifically what they are right now. So, any questions? So Forum Kids, some of you asked me this morning if we might be staying at that church in Ohio. Well, I hope so. We have to ask him, but there's a church in Ohio where we've stayed already about 4 or 5 times where they're very hospitable, so that would be our point. So, National Cathedral, we started the week there. Okay, want to do your part?
Sure. All right, you all have your sheets, right? So I get to handle the money questions. I get to do money and food. That's usually what my job is, money and food. So the total cost of the trip is $700 per person. That covers your bus costs, all the food while we are at the location. So essentially starting about Sunday evening through Saturday morning, noon-ish. The travel costs while you're traveling back and forth, that's yours. So we often stop at like a Burger King or usually not Burger King, but someplace that has a number of choices for us. Going in this direction, typically they have those travel malls where there'll be like 5 restaurants in them and a fast food. We did that this last year. So it's that kind of stop. We always try to find a decent one that has good choices like Subway and things like that. Anyway, your costs are on, your meal costs would be those on the way out. In order to say you're going on the trip, you put a $250 deposit down that goes towards that $700. Okay? We ask that it comes in by November 5th and that you register also online. So on the back of this sheet, it's got the instructions for how to sign up online. It's got the tiny URL there. So that way we know who's going. Now, the whole cost of the trip, the money that you pay, any money that you pay towards the trip, is deductible for taxes. So this is more for the adults in the room. So any cost that you put towards the trip is deductible. Partially because of that, if you were to, for whatever reason, back out by the end of this year, we can, it's non-refundable after the end of the year because you've already gotten the tax credit. You get a statement on that. So we can't reimburse you after that time. Before, yes, but not after. And by the way, with that deposit, we're making deposits for you with bus companies and with where we stay potentially, and there's a lot of deposits that we have to put down. Working with different agencies, we have to put money down to secure our spots and things like that. Because you plan on things, it needs to be in at that level. So that helps. Now, we always say with everything that we do here at St. Matthew's, we don't want money to get in the way. So if that seems like too much of a cost, you can talk with us. We can help with those kind of things, and we can always do payment programs if that's the case. If people want to do a little bit per month over a year or whatever, or you just need help in doing the trip, we're happy to do that. So people make donations towards the mission trip just for that kind of thing. So we want to help with that if that's a concern. We don't want money to be in the way of you choosing to come. Like I said, there to Washington and back, approximately about 12 meals. The guesstimate is around $5 a meal. We actually try to help with that. So, for example, we'll do a sign up for everybody to sign up for meal for muffins and things like that for breakfast, and so that really helps us out with some of those meal costs. But that's just a sense. You're going to want to bring some spending money. So one of the pictures that was up there was the Smithsonian. I think it was Saturday morning, and we don't know our schedule yet, but we had a free time where small groups went off to different sites that they want to see. A couple of the different Smithsonians were one of the choices. Going to, I think it was the Holocaust Museum. There was a variety of things that people chose to do, and so bringing some spending money to do those kind of choice things is something you're going to want to do. And everybody else wants to get a little bit of souvenirs from Washington. There's plenty of souvenirs to be purchased. So not a crazy amount of spending money, probably $50, $75 at most, but something like that. So we are going to be raising, so the cost is $700, $250 off. That's you're shooting for about a $450 fundraising goal per person. Now we can't guarantee that we'll have enough opportunities for everybody to raise that $450. Okay, that's a lot for us to put together. But if you're motivated, and if you're the kind of person that really will go above and beyond, you can hit that. You can hit that 450. In fact, we're saying you can even go up to 700 if you wanted to fundraise that much, up to 700, which would give you your deposit back. Okay, you can't go over the 700. Any additional money after that would be helping just the general trip. So for example, we have a variety of the fundraisers listed there. Pizzeria Bicola, one's coming up on the 8th of October. We have our big dinner auction. That's a huge thing. The goal is for each person that's going to get $100. We actually give you credit for coming to the meetings. So we potentially have 8 meetings total. That includes the sending dinner. If you come to 6 of those 8, we will give you $50 towards your trip. Okay, so it's kind of rewarding you for being at all the meetings, which are really important. Lenten dinners, Easter breakfast, city tins, selling city tins. Those will start in November. Everybody knows what city tins are. They're essentially coupons for real nice restaurants in Milwaukee, and also they have one for Madison. And you sell these for $25, I believe it is. We, as a church, get $10 per.
Someone might know. How much are they?
They're 30 now.
Do we get 10 for 10? Do we get 10 for 10? Do you know that?
You'll get like 20 to 25 posters.
How much profit you get?
Don't know.
You're not sure. So they're $30 this year, but so they make nice gifts for people. But last year we got $10 per shirt, so we're still figuring some of those details out. But each one you sell, you get 10. So if you sold 50 of them, obviously you get $500. So that's the kind of stuff that can really help you to get to that higher goal. The other big one that is really nice for, it can be good and it can be bad. If you're the kind of person that's friendly and doesn't mind going out and talking to people, doing sponsorships is a great way to raise money. We assume you'll get about 50, so 5 people sponsoring you. Some people will sponsor you they'll say, well, here's a check for 100. Some people do that. If you walk around coffee hour to people you know, they'll probably give you $10 each. So we have had people do like $500 in sponsorships. That's one big way that people often really get a lot of fundraising dollars. So that gets you a sense for what we're trying to do with the fundraising. But your goal is to hopefully cover the balance, which would be $450. If you go over that, like I said, up to $700, we would give your deposit back. Whatever you don't raise, so for example, you don't come to anything, you don't fundraise at all, which is not what we're encouraging, by the way. We need you to help because these projects are always a lot of work. But the money that you don't raise, so let's say you raise $350 of that $450, the $100 balance would be due when we leave. Okay, so that's when that's due. Does that make sense? So anything you don't raise out of that $450 is due when we leave. Okay, and we'll keep giving you updates as we go, and explaining where you're at, and you'll know. Usually it's about 3 times through the year that you get a statement sheet that just shows you how much you've raised, and if there's questions that you have, you can answer those. You've got the meeting list there, so that you know what those dates are. Potentially, most of them are pretty close to the first Sunday of the month. That January 20th is a little different. It's getting us ready for right away. We have that February dinner, so we do it a little bit earlier to give us a little bit more time to get ready for that dinner. And then we have that sending dinner, which we're looking at possibly being June 3rd, but we'll know a little bit closer as we go. So that's important to get those on your calendar and plan to attend. There are some miscellaneous opportunities. Every so often, people will say, hey, this happened to us a couple years ago. Their friend was running this Halloween business that they were selling the costumes, and could they send us 10 people over, and they would pay them, I think it was like $50 a person to come and work at this Halloween shop and help sort and organize. And so we rounded up whoever wanted to go. So those kind of things come up periodically. They're never a guarantee, but whenever they do come up, Gretchen puts out an email to everyone, and it's kind of first come, first serve. So you kind of have to answer her, obviously. And it's really important to be watching for emails and paying attention to what's all in the email and all the details, because pretty much on every email, 1/4. Am I taking your steam? Sorry. She's going to talk all about that. So I was trying to encourage them to really read your emails. Any questions about fundraisers? All right. Gretchen.
So meeting dates, as you can see, the first one that's the official meeting is November 17th, and it's a late night retreat. We're not doing overnight this year because last year about half the kids left. So it's from 6 to 11. But it's a fun night of getting to know people, but we also do a little bit of trip background, and it counts as a meeting. And then the other thing about fundraisers is they're fun. Most of the time they're fun, so that's why they're called fundraisers, because you can't spell fundraiser without fun. So, did that get taped?
Oh yeah.
All right, so the first fundraiser we have coming up is October 8th, next Sunday at Pizzeria Piccola. So I will send out a link to pretty much all 9th through 12th graders and ask you to sign up. There's not enough room for everybody going on the trip to sign up, but we should have another date in the spring so that hopefully everyone will get a chance to serve at that. But we will be looking for people next Sunday from starting at 3. We're done at 9. There are about an hour and a half shifts. And for those of you who haven't done it before, we bus tables, we serve the food. It's kind of fun. The earlier shifts, there's not much to do. The middle shifts get pretty busy. So if you can help with that, I'll sign up link this week. But we do need to fill those shifts for next Sunday. The other thing that's coming up soon is City Tins, and we don't have the information to give you for all of that right now. But when Ella's mom sends that to me, it's all very nicely organized, and I can just forward it to everybody in an email. And you guys usually have about a week and a half to sell. It'll probably be first or second week in November that you sell, and then the tins will be here by Thanksgiving. So you'd have them in time for holidays. And I mean, that's an opportunity. Some kids, like, their parents take the sheet to work and they make a lot of money off of that. So that's an opportunity too. So the email thing. One way we're gonna try to make our lists really accurate and usable this year is we have a whole online sign up that we're using. So it's not enough to email me and say, hey, I'm going on the trip, or to tell me, hey, I'm going on the trip. You have to go to this link to sign up. And that link requires you to type in one email that you check, because we do like you to check your own emails, and then one email for your parents that they check. Okay, so that I have 2 emails for each kid. I have a kid email and a parent email. Okay, and then since you're typing them in, we're just going to be able to put them in a list, so that should cut down on the mistakes that are made when we type them in and stuff. So I'm hoping that I don't, every time I send out an email, get back the 20 not sent things that I usually get when I send one out. So that as a reminder, you have to sign up online, and you can do that anytime. If you're sure now the link is up, you can go sign up. That'd be great. So the monthly meetings, like Pastor Chris said, are really, really important. I already told you how to sign up. One really important thing about these trips is making an effort to get to know other people. And I think that some kids who have been on the trip and came somewhat reluctantly as a freshman might tell you that the experience of the trip was really good when they got to know other people. It was a lot richer experience and makes people feel more comfortable about coming back. And that's true of, I'd say, usually about half of our freshman class, that it's like a concern. So it's really a good, helpful thing to get to know other people. So we do a lot of things to try to make that happen. So we're not trying to be cruel if you think, oh, I'm not with my friend. We're trying to make sure you have lots of friends. So just stating that. We do eventually put you into small groups. We should have those done before the dinner auction. And we look at trying to make those, we balance them and try to be really fair while having you make new connections, but not taking you completely out of your comfort zones. We will need to cap the trip at about 65 kids. Last year we had 80 people. That's a large but manageable group, but sometimes I hear them hit the floor when I call agencies that we're going to work with and say, I have 80 people. I mean, there's an audible pause before they answer, because they're like, what? So we do have to cap it at 65 kids, and then we'll have 15 adults. So if you are an adult who is interested in chaperoning this year, we do have a sheet you can put your name on. Sometimes we end up with the fortunate position, I guess, of having like 30 people sign up when we can really only take 13. So then we have to apply criteria, like we need a balance of people with experience, some new people, men, women, all that kind of stuff. So just to give you that heads up that's how that works. But sign up by all means if you're interested in coming. And I think that's pretty much. Oh, just the auction thing, I'm gonna plant that seed right now. When you're thinking about auction items, it's way better for you from a fundraising standpoint if you're not buying those items. So if you can think of something creative like a service to donate, babysitting, snow shoveling, multiple services like that, maybe you can get businesses to donate items to you and put together a basket. Maybe you know someone else who does, we've had people do, Kelly's given tax services sometimes. So, if you have a parent who has a service or something like that, tutoring, anything like that, just think creatively, and we'll talk about this a little bit at each meeting, but what we don't want for you to do is go out and buy 2 items and spend $75, and then you're really not making anything on the fundraiser. So, all right, any questions? None? All right. Well, our first meeting is November 17th. Even though the sign-up deadline is November 5th, you are more than welcome to sign up anytime before then. All right. Go in peace.